Everyone, my name is Moses, okay? This evening I'll be looking at the demolitions that has happened in Lagos, or rather, that is also keep happening in Lagos. It's still happening as we speak. Last week we had about two areas gutted by fire in Lagos. One I think is in Mandilas, and one with other location, and people made a lot of commentary, and a lot of ethnic insinuations were made. Now, this evening, I want us to, as Nigerians, actually look at these issues dispassionately, whether there is some ethnic undertone in these demolitions, or is it about Lagos State trying to reclaim land? Now, recall that in the last couple, sometime last week, houses in Lekki were flooded, and people made comments. People did say that, is this the Lagos that Tinubu built? Now, as a result of that, there were also clamor that the Lagos water channel has been built up, and that it is the people who have built this, who built up these water channels, that are causing whatever was happening in Lagos. Now, this evening, what I'm going to be doing is to review this, what is actually happening. Once more, I say to you, you're welcome to Njenje Media TV. My name is Mazes, okay? And I welcome you to these urban echoes. I want to dive into a pressing issue that is shaping Nigerians' urban landscapes. Today, I'm going to be tackling a topic that could be controversial in some sense, and at the same time, a topic that has been both heartbreaking and controversial. That is the demolition of houses in Lagos. We've seen that in Lekki today. We saw that last week in Aspanda, the one that even made Joe Ibokwe to tweet, to make a Facebook post that really shocked so many people. I would also explore the ethnic dimension, if any, the accusations of building on drainages, and that is the water channel, and their consequences for investors if this continues in this manner. This is my reflection, and my reflection alone. Please grab your seat and let's navigate these complex terrain together. I must also note, earlier today, I made a tweet. I said, in all these things, all this demolition, irrespective of what um, the reason has been given here, I want to believe that I feel that the punishment, which is demolition, it's somewhat one-sided. If I have to believe the side of government, because I f- I struggle. I don't care whether this is Lagos, Enugu, Kanu, or Ibadan, or Bayelsa. It doesn't really matter. But we are using Lagos State as a case study to think that people may have bribed others to buy land. People may have influenced C of O. Then the government goes and demolishes these buildings without consequences to those who used pen and signed the documents of authorization. I find it a little bit awkward. Sorry, but pardon me, because it's someone who probably sits in the office that facilitates something like this to happen, right? So this evening, like I said before, I'm going to be looking at the demolition of houses in Lagos, ethnic undertone or urban renewal, or water channel clearance. We don't know. But maybe if we keep an open mind, we may, at the end of the day, find what the issue here is. Now, let me backtrack again. In Oroshoki, there was this elderly man who I saw a video, and that video really got me thinking because the elderly man was seen crying, almost crying, saying that my house has been demolished, a house that I think about 8 room property or so was demolished. And looking at it, when a baba for that matter, when he cries, he really got me. I looked at it, I said, wow, this man probably could have been my brother, or it could have been any of us, our father. And let me play this video for us, and let's start with this particular one. Let me play this video.
ó lé wọn ilé tèmi náà wọn wò yàrá mẹ́jọ àwọn bẹ at this my age mo ti lé ní 70 so anything can happen after 70 so nbo ni mo tún fẹ́ lọ iṣẹ́ wo ni mo fẹ́ ṣe tí mo fẹ́ fi tún kọ́ lé so ẹ bá wa gba ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn rò dáadáa kẹ́ ẹ gbà pé ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ̀yin gangan ló ṣẹlẹ̀ sí wọ́n lè ní àgbà tán là ń gba ọ̀lẹ so àwa bẹ̀ yín ni ìjọba fẹ́ sanwó wọ́n fẹ́ ṣe kíní ohun tó bá máa fún wa kàn rí i pé ó dáa because àwa náà la dìbò fún àwọn tó wà bẹ́ẹ̀ Tinubu àwa la dìbò fún wọn and àwọn ẹ̀yin lè rán àwa níṣẹ́ tá a lọ bá àwọn èèyàn táwọn èèyàn yìí dìde ní àsìkò tó jẹ́ pé nígbà òjò nígbà ẹ̀rùn láàárọ̀ lọ́sàn-án lálẹ́ lóru àwọn èèyàn dìde láti dìbò ìbò tó dèdè sí ni kì í ṣe pé bóyá kìíní ẹjọ wíwìwì báwo ló ti wá jẹ́ pé àti ìlú ibi tí Tinubu ti jáde wá wọ́n wọ wọ́n jẹ̀ta àwọn wọn pé yóò bẹ́ẹ̀.
Okay, for those of you who do not understand Yoruba, not that I do, but I got the gist. The man that you saw there, this happened in Noroshoki. Now, I want us to pay attention here. Two things. Some of you may not like what I want to say now. If you look at this man, he is obviously from the southwest. He's a Yoruba man. If you look at other affected residents there at the back, you could also have the same idea that they are Yorubas in Orosoki. Right? That means we should talk about this thing from a human angle, not necessarily, maybe not politicizing it or adding too much ethnic dimension to it. Maybe depends on location. Some may argue that, oh, maybe Owuroshoki it's occupied by certain people. Ajegunle occupied by certain people, and other areas occupied by certain people. Now, the argument here, which when I saw this video on X, many are saying, "Oh, yeah, you voted for Tinubu, or you do this." Well, I think when people are grieving, especially when they've lost property, please, I beg of us, let's not necessarily, go into mocking them, so to say. Now, we move and we leave Oroshoki, right? We go back to another place. And before I do that, that is, we go back to Trade Fair. Trade Fair was the one that people saw plazas that were completed being demolished. Then the question, actually, that the first thing that struck me is, where were the government when these properties, when these plazas were being built? Where were the government? Was the government dead? Was the government asleep? That somebody started a foundation, built a house, DPC level, continued, got to, I don't know, really got to finish their house, painted it, Suddenly, the government, boom, out of nowhere, comes out. But before I go to uh, trade fair, let me touch base with Lekki and see what has actually happened in Lekki. Because in Lekki, this is ongoing. This is from today and yesterday. You can see terraces being demolished, people living it. And I'm asking because the argument the government is making here is that these houses sit on water channel. The argument, I mean, what I'm thinking is who filled it? Where was the government when these lands were being filled? Now, it doesn't matter because in this place, you have Nigerians and non Nigerians living here. So it's not, I do not believe that what I'm saying is a case of ethnic issue. I believe that this is a case of, genuine and innocent citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria losing their resources, losing their properties by demolition.
I'm homeless. They are demolishing my house. Oh my God. They are demolishing my house. Demolition is ongoing in my estate. And this is so painful. All these houses, they are
Now look at these
going down.
houses.
All these houses.
Look at these houses. Where was the government when the filling of this area was happening? Where was the government when the DPC, the clearing of this? Sorry, but I am I am struggling to wrap my head around where the government will be to a point that just imagine where you live now. You just go somewhere, start clearing a house. The council or the municipal will not come. Nobody will call them. You develop these massive and expanse. I don't know how many buildings, maybe more than 100, 200 or whatever. Yeah. Sold terraces, semi detached, some areas detached. And you wake up one day and bulldozer comes knocking that your property is being pulled down and nobody's really getting angry as to um, nobody is really getting angry as to who is destroying these things. Let me
They are
bring
going
this
down.
again.
Oh God. I'm homeless. They are demolishing my house. Oh my God. They are demolishing my house. Demolition is ongoing in my estate. And this is so painful. All these houses, they are going down. All these houses we are seeing, they are going down. Oh God. I'm crying. I'm crying. They are demolishing my house. I'm homeless. They are demolishing my house. Oh my God. They are demolishing my house.
Okay, so you've looked at this. You see the property being demolished. Then the question is, what is actually happening? You know, I think it's a thing that no Nigerian should look and say, "Oh, it doesn't concern me, hence I should not put my voice to it," because you never know what's going to happen. The Lagos state government has been on a demolition spree, citing illegal construction and the need to protect, drainage, to protect the in Lagos they always call it canal to protect the drainages and the canal to mitigate flooding. The type that we saw last week in Lagos, where in Lekki, even supermarkets, everything was hanging, yet people were going about their businesses as nothing happened. I jokingly made a tweet last week saying, well, in Lagos, those of you who have more than two, three cars, sell one of your cars and make sure you use the money to buy a speedboat. Because the way it is, if it keeps happening, you might need speedboat. But as we dig deeper, we uncover layers of ethnicity issues, policy failures, and investors' despair that paint a more troubling picture. That's what I figured out as I started looking into it. Now, let's talk about the ethnic angle. You all know, um, I don't want to say Lagos is a no man's land before people take offense, but Lagos is the melting pot. If you look at the Nigerian social cultural strata, Lagos is the melting pot. But it's also a city where ethnic tensions simmer beneath the surface, especially since the last elections. It's been before now, but since the last election that the ruling party lost Lagos, it's been more, pronounced. The perception that many of the demolished properties belong to the non-indigenous residents, those from other parts of Nigeria, has fueled, accusation of ethnic profiling. Indigenous Lagosians sometimes view this demolition as a way of reclaiming their land, while settlers feel targeted and traumatized. Again, the question is whether this narrative it's dangerous, or is it because I'm trying to be more neutral in this, but it's a hard one. Okay, I take this again. Is it something the government is doing it without genuineness, or something that is being done to pit communities against each other? Does it actually okay, does it actually transform, you know um a planning issue into social issue, where where the loss of home becomes a loss of identity? If someone who was born in Lagos, lived in Lagos for 35 years, and suddenly this happens, would that person then lose the identity of identifying as a Lagosian? Maybe some would say that the reality is that urbanization affects everyone, both the indigens and the non-indigens. But if we put on the ethnic lens and you go through it, which these demolitions are viewed from so many, the response might be not what many would want to think. Now, the question is, what about the drainage accusation? Now, let me address the technical justification. I mean, according to what Lagos state government puts across. The government argues that many of these buildings obstruct drainages, as I highlighted before, which is critical in a city prone to flooding. Lagos is a city that is on water. On paper, this may make sense, of course. On paper, this may make sense. I mean, it sounds plausible. But Lagos geography makes it vulnerable, and any blockage can lead to very, very disastrous flooding, as we have seen in recent time. In all this, there is a catch, if you ask me. Many of these structures were built with government approval. As I said before, these properties, many owners say, here is our approval to build. How did they end up on drainage channels? That is question that nobody is asking. Was this an oversight, or this constant reoccurrence? Is this an oversight, or failure of planning, or a convenient excuse to reclaim prime estate locations? Because if not, if you keep punishing the people, those investors, then I think people like me will think that the government is as useless as toilet paper. Because you cannot be in government. Somebody comes in, starts foundation, you did not stop until it gets to a point and lives in that house. Then you come with your bulldozer. The Lagos State Urban and Regional Planning and Development Law is very clear. Building on drainage channel must be removed. But I ask again, even if when they argue that they should be removed, Why did you allow people to build on drainages? Ab initio, the enforcement, again, has been inconsistent, if you ask me. It raises questions about whether these demolitions are truly about flood prevention or something else. I do not know that what something else means, but it's up to you. You tell me. Now, let me pick it this. Earlier today, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, Senator Enyinia Baribe, and Senator Victor Ume, they were in, with Tanko Yanusa and Badebo Rosevival. They were in Lagos. They visited these areas and they wanted to also understand why the demolition. While they were there, in one of the distance, Peter Obi made a, addressed the market men who were grieving. And moments ago, actually, after that, he made a tweet. Let me quickly pull up his tweet and let's go through his tweet here. Let me see if I can make the tweet bigger. Okay, so in his tweets, let me quickly see that. In his tweet, Peter Obi said, that tweet was made about 25 minutes ago. The Lagos Trade Fair demolition, a test of impunity, justice, and compassion. Today, alongside Senator Engineer Baribe Victor Ume, Colonel Austin Akobundu, Akobundu, Tony Nwoye, Honorable Member of House of Representatives, Shegun Sowomi. Shegun Sowomi, is he now Honorable Member? Judge Adegeye, Labour Party Lagos State Gubernatorial Candidate, Gbadebo Rosevival, and coordinator of the Obedient Movement, Tanko Yenusa. We visited the site of the demolished Aspanda Market at the trade fair in Lagos, where plazas were pulled down despite traders having obtained requisite approval. You see, that's where my point is. My point is on these approval. Why give people approval where and this when people say we have approval is where without punishment is where many will now say this is now appears to be ethnic motivation to this. But his tweet goes further to say, I must commend the traders for their remarkable restraint and calm in the face of painful loss. I equally appreciate senators, and the House of Representative members who have pledged to investigate this matter through thoroughly and bring to light the circumstances that led to this unfortunate development, and most importantly, ensure that the situation does not occur in the future. Beyond this immediate case, I urge government at all levels to act with compassion, fairness, and deep sense of justice, especially at this difficult time. Many of the affected traders invested heavily. Of course, they did. None of those plazas that were demolished, none of them is less than 300 million. I mean, can you imagine? 3 to 500 million, half a billion just gone. In many of them, in huge numbers, approaching hundreds. That's unbelievable. And the sad part is now, before I come back to the Peter Obi's tweet, the sad part is someone who is in that market that I spoke to yesterday said something that was also worrying. He said that, oh, if you sort them, that means if you give them bribe, they will leave your plaza. I'm like, wait a minute. If this were to be true, then the question will be, if you're demolition to reclaim land for drainage and you collected money and left some buildings standing, how has that solved the problem? You haven't demolished the houses and you haven't dug up the drainage again or the canal. I mean, you can't just demolish and just leave it shallow. I was thinking if it's going to be a canal, then you after demolition, everything in that part must be cleared and the canal properly dug back again. I don't know, but these things, in my view, doesn't make sense. Now, and P2B concludes, to destroy such legitimate investments without due process is not only unjust, but also economically destructive. A society that seeks to make progress must protect enterprise, I agree, encourage productivity, I agree, and defend the dignity of its citizens, I also agree. Incidents like this should have no place in a nation that to aspires to fairness, stability, and shared prosperity. I totally agree with this tweet as well. So again, it's no matter how you look at it, no matter how you dice it, it brings to bear my initial submission of why do we do this? That's what in that sense, that's what it does. Why do we need to demolish without necessarily doing anything? We are demolition without doing anything. We are demolition without consequences. People have lost, their places of business and no form of compensation. If you say it was done by certain individuals, but also you have not punished the individuals that issued those documents there. So you can see Rose Viva, you can see Enyinia Bariba, you can see Tony Nwoye, and you can see Victor, right? They visited the demolished places. And you see, if you're looking at this, look at, ignore the man in the picture, but if you look at the back of this, you will see structures. Where were those who were in charge of this when the foundation of this place started? Look at the iron, look at everything that was just damaged. It doesn't, in my honest view and take, it doesn't make sense. Right? If they explain Nigeria to you and you understood it, it's going to be a tragedy. I don't, sometimes, honestly, I don't understand it, because this is a tragedy, to be honest, of immense proportion. There is no need to mince word about it. People have lost their millions of naira, and I don't know. Now, also, Rosvival published a video showing that visit with Peter Obi to that place as well. Let's.
What reason is making for this? No reason. The reason why you're for this one. No reason. The same thing. On a canal. I don't want to approve.
What about the politics? They came in a day life. Because it was like when they are like this.
My governor.
But what they told us that happened here was not correct. They said you built on top of building tunnels. No, we have seen, not anyone. We saw IK Macron Plaza. There's no drainage tunnel near it. It's at the center of the place. So what is somebody who has built something down? Now, hardworking people, your business, we cannot be talking about foreign investors. Whenever
Now, you can see, obviously, that video was posted by Rose Bible, and you can see where the people in the market said that they did not build on um, canal and that they had approval. It's now their words against that of the government. And these are the type of narrative that really make people to believe that there is more to this, right? That there is more to this. That the demolitions are not just, not just for demolition's sake. I don't know. What do you think? There is also this narrative that if we are now talking about, we are seeking for foreign direct investment. And in the video made by one of the videos that was captured where P2B was speaking, he also said it that in one of the plazas, there is one that was built with a foreign investor's money. Let me play that video for us. And in that process, the foreign investor was also there. And he saw how their investments were being pulled down. The question then thereof is, how and what confidence does the person now have to ever think of investing in this part of the world again?
All of you are not abiding, hardworking people trying to do your business. We cannot be talking about foreign investors. When local investors are not protected. We can only bring foreign investors if local investor is protected. One of the houses they destroyed ever. The man's partner with the daughter to find the investor at his office when he was being destroyed.
He said that one of the properties that was demolished, that the white partner was with the man in his office when the property was being demolished.
Do you think if they go back, they'll come again? No. They won't come back. Everyone foreign investor will protect the local investor. Make the business thrive. What government is supposed to be doing here is coming to support you people. For the market to improve, not to destroy anything. You have taken all these legislators, you have taken it on, all we are feeling. Let there be peace. Let there be reconciliation. Let all the states of Nigeria and everywhere understand that this is time to protect businesses. This is time to support businesses. So I thank all of you for what you are doing, welcoming us here, and show you that we must continue until we have a new Nigeria like this.
Wow. Okay. So it's indeed sad. To be honest with you, it is indeed sad. When I say this, it is indeed sad to note that in all these things, the government is demolition without consequences. The government is demolition without consequences. So people need to begin to, everybody lend their voice. Because again, when we look at the human cost, beyond the numbers, in this there are human stories. Families are displaced as we speak. Livelihood are destroyed. Some might even get into kidnapping or other social vices. And communities are fractured, especially those what happened in Lekki and the Woroshoki. The Nigerian Land Use Act, as many of you will know, of 1978, mandates compensation for compulsory acquisitions. But in practice, you and I know this is This rarely happens. People are given little notice, no alternative housings, and and no recourse. For me, fundamentally, this is not only about Lagos, this is now about Nigeria because this raises a fundamental question. How do we balance the need for urban planning and renewal with the rights of you and I as Nigerians? The government, if you ask me, and that is what the government must do. The government has a duty to ensure public safety, but it must also uphold the rule of law and protect every Nigerian citizen. You and I are human. The current approach, demolish first, ask questions later. For me, it only exacerbates the housing crisis and leaves trails of human suffering. Nigerians will continue to suffer. People will be suffering. People will now go into probably into crime. Imagine that lady standing there. Imagine someone, a realtor, someone who has developed those houses in Lekki. Imagine the places that are not yet sold out. Imagine someone taking 2, 3, 4 billion naira loan from bank, and those houses are just pulled down that way. How is he going to pay the bank? How? He has put in his own money because obviously bank can lend you 100%. You must put in a substantial amount for bank. Your loan to value must be high. Your LTV must be high for bank to even come close to you. So what's going to happen then? I will conclude people by saying that moving forward, what can we all do, right? Moving forward, I think many will say, where do we go from here? I say, well, we'll continue pushing. If you ask me, reform is essential. The government must try as much as possible to walk away from any ethnic coloration, anything that should cause ethnic tension should be walked away from. The government needs to streamline the approval processes. The government must hold people to account. Signature must amount to something. Mazes, okay, on today's date, I signed this paper. My signature must amount to something, even if it means jail time. You cannot allow someone to lose millions, billions, and someone who caused that loss is driving in an air conditioned SUV, walking free because he or she is from a certain part of the country. No, that is not acceptable. Government must ensure that drainage channels are clearly mapped out and respected from the start, not when the buildings are completed. And establish a robust compensation mechanism. There must be a way government must compensate the people, right? When we talk about this, it brings to mind transparency and accountability must be prioritized. Community engagement. How did you engage the community before you demolish? From what the video of the elderly man who watched, Uroshoki, it was demolition first before stakeholder engagement. Stakeholder engagement, community engagement is crucial. Involve the local residents, those that live there. Let them present their documentation. Look at it. Arrest people who approved it. In this planning, the decisions can be, if these things are done, decisions can be built on trust and ensure that development benefit everyone, but not just select a very, very few and knock down everything. And finally, I say that investing in alternative housing solution is vital. Demolition without relocation plan only worsens the housing shortage. Like when I visited Oboko, they said the governor is working in Oboko. When I went to Oboko, I laughed. Yes, there were roads built in Oboko. But I said to myself, some of the houses that I saw in Oboko, when I stand, I'm looking at their roof. You cannot do urban regeneration without maybe moving out the people who live there and build either mass housing or, I mean, something must give way. But hey, Nigeria, I mean, sometimes we talk about these matters, it gives you headache, you know, it gives you real headache. No matter how we look at it, finally, we must address these ethnic feelings and narrative. Please, those in Lagos. There is an Igbo adage that says, "Ebe nwata na ebe akwa atụ aka, nne ya anọghị, nna gị anọghị." Whenever any direction that a child points at, whenever that child is crying, look well. If the mom is not there, the father must be there. We cannot say that this ethnic dimension does not exist, because there is something that always points to that direction, no matter how objective we want to be. While we do our urban planning, we should do it in an apolitical manner. The perception of bias can be tackled head on if we are serious. But hey, do you really think that the government is interested in tackling any type of bias? Is it not something that they want to actually, because the government is now being accused of wanting to, you know, kind of add petrol to fire because of 2027, arguing that because they've lost the election in 2025, that in a way of causing confusion and commotion within the community and to help them win election is part of what we are seeing. I would say that open dialogue, fair enforcement, and inclusive policies can help us bridge maybe this divide and foster sense of shared purpose, if anything like that. Right? Again, I will say to us, and I leave us with this: the demolition of houses in Lagos, what I saw in the last couple of days, weeks, it really breaks my heart and is a stark reminder of the challenges of rapid urbanization and political expansion. If you want to just be objective and play naive, I would say it is a story of policy failure. But there is no way we can leave the ethnic tension bit out of it. And there is also what P2B highlighted, which is also the investors' losses. And it's also a call to action. As we move forward, if you ask me, I say, let's strive for a city that grows not just upward, but also inward, where development uplifts rather than displaces. It does not make sense that you're going into a place you want to demolish. Nobody sat down to think, if we knock these buildings down, where are these individuals? Where are they going to go? Nobody thought, okay, can we have, I don't know, let's say you demolish those houses, properties in Noworoshoki, and you have somewhere in, I don't know, maybe Sangota or maybe Ikorodu. But honestly, I don't care how far that is. But at least a place that offers something, let that person then deny it. Let that person reject. Anyway, thanks for listening to these Urban Echoes. I am Mazezok, and I hope this reflection has given you food for thought. Join me next time as we continue to explore the issues shaping Nigerian cities. Thank you very much, guys. If you haven't subscribed to this platform, by all means, do share, subscribe, share, and let's keep having this conversation. I believe in Georgia as opposed to war, because no matter how you look at it, it is the best thing that we can do for ourselves. Good night.